Today, I'm announcing the launch of ALTO, the largest infrastructure project in Canadian history. A high-speed rail network between Quebec City and Toronto with stops in Trois-Rivières, Laval, Montreal, Ottawa, and Peterborough. It'll span 1,000 kilometres with 100% electric trains that will reach speeds of 300 kilometres an hour.
Whenever I think of monorails, I think of Disneyland, which has a monorail, and I think of a bunch of futuristic ideas from the 1950s of what the future would look like. Flying cars and monorails, they never really seem to work, do they? It's one of my favorite episodes in The Simpsons where a monorail salesman comes by, teases the good people of Springfield, and when they start asking too many questions, he says, no, this is more a Shelbyville kind of idea. And of course, the rivalry makes the Springfielders buy the monorail. Here's a refresher of that really funny segment.
Please.
You know, a town with money's a little like the mule with a spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
Mule.
The name's Lanley, Lyle Lanley. And I come before you good people tonight with an idea. Probably the greatest... Oh, it's not for you. It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Now, wait just a minute. We're twice as smart as the people of Shelbyville. Just tell us your idea and we'll vote for it.
All right. I tell you what I'll do. I'll show you my idea. I give you the Springfield Monorail.
Well, just days before he's supposed to retire, Justin Trudeau popped up, and not as the monorail salesman. He didn't need to have Parliament or anyone agree. He just announced that he was going to build a high-speed monorail down Eastern Canada that will cost up to $40 billion. He was so proud of himself. Take a look at this astonishing spending.
Today, I'm announcing the launch of ALTO, the largest infrastructure project in Canadian history. A high-speed rail network between Quebec City and Toronto with stops in Trois-Rivières, Laval, Montreal, Ottawa, and Peterborough. It'll span 1,000 kilometres with 100% electric trains that will reach speeds of 300 kilometres an hour. A reliable, efficient, high-speed rail network will be a game changer for Canadians, slashing travel times by half, getting you from Toronto to Montreal in 3 hours. It'll stimulate our economy, strengthen the bonds between cities and our two most populous provinces, and reduce costs for businesses while improving their productivity and competitiveness.
He said he's going to spend about $4 billion now, but in total, it'll be a $40 billion white elephant. This is to distract from the earlier $40 billion white elephant of electric vehicle batteries. Joining us now to talk about this spectacular and bizarre fiasco is our friend Franco Terrazzano of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Franco, it really is the worst of all worlds. And the fact that he just announces this with no democratic legitimacy while Parliament is dissolved and he's got days left in his mandate, it's the strangest banana republic kind of thing I've ever seen.
Well, can someone just take away his credit card? Like, please? Like, you have a lame duck prime minister who, as you said, is like days, weeks away from leaving the job. And now he's announcing that he's going to take Canada billions of dollars more into debt, right? You mentioned that $4 billion figure being thrown around there. That's just for the development phase. Right. That's just for the planning, right? Like, this is going to be a spectacular taxpayer boondoggle, and the costs are going to be astronomical, right? I also heard you mention $40 billion, maybe the total cost to taxpayers of the total development, but I've heard even higher costs, right? When Transport Canada initially looked at this, they estimated that the cost could be as much as $80 billion.
Oh my God.
And like, here's a question, Ezra. How is the government going to pay for this, right? More than $1 trillion in debt, interest charges costing taxpayers $1 billion a week. Like, have they gone mad?
You know, they already have a government-owned train called Via Rail that's losing billions, that is not on time. It is very poorly rated in terms of customer satisfaction. And so they want to double down on trains. It reminds me of California. And I think in some ways, Justin Trudeau sort of sees himself as a younger, dumber version of Gavin Newsom, the governor down there. And California has spent tens of billions of dollars on their high-speed rail, Monorail, which it's not anywhere near being done. There was recently a picture that the train company itself published of a 1 kilometer stretch in the middle of nowhere, connected to nothing. They were so proud of this 1 kilometer stretch that they put out a tweet about it. That is our destiny, government-funded monorails. It doesn't make sense in California, which is a very high population density place. It certainly doesn't make sense in Canada. It doesn't make sense financially. It doesn't make sense logistically. It doesn't make sense even in terms of you already have a railway that's broken. But one thing that absolutely did make sense to me, Franco, is I saw that SNC-Lavalin was one of the consortium. They have a new name now. Apparently they've changed their name, just like convicted criminals sometimes change their name to get away from their sordid past. Apparently SNC-Lavalin is part of this gig. What do you think about that?
Well, it doesn't really matter who's a part of this gig, right? What really matters is that taxpayers shouldn't be a part of this gig.
Exactly.
Look, if an actual company wants to build a high-speed rail, fill your boots.
Yeah.
Why are taxpayers doing this, right?
Yeah.
Think about this in two ways. Number one, why are taxpayers in every other part of the country not living in Toronto to the Quebec City corridor? Why are they paying for this, right? Or think about it this way. Like, who's really going to use this high-speed rail? Like, you're still going to have to fork over, what, $100+ to get on this? This is going to be like business people, right? So you have taxpayers subsidizing those folks to take a high-speed rail. Like, no, thank you. And I'm glad you brought up Via Rail, because it just brings into picture the pure government incompetence. Government is not a business. Government should get out of the business of business. I mean, come on. We're already losing hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, failing to run the current government train company that is Via Rail. In fact, over the last 5 years, the government, taxpayers, have had to dump $1.8 billion to Via Rail just to cover its operating losses, right? So look at this high-speed rail boondoggle, right? About $4 billion just for planning. The total cost could be as much as $80 billion. Well, I mean, if you look at recent history and you look at the absolute shenanigans going at Via Rail, who's to say the cost isn't going to be even higher than that?
Yeah. And we're so broken right now financially. And I'm thinking that this would crowd out Air Canada, Porter, any airlines, any bus companies right now. It would drive them out of business. It's just a bizarre. I mean, Justin Trudeau doesn't think there's a business case for private sector companies to sell liquefied natural gas to our allies like Japan. But apparently he's such a wonderful entrepreneur and train tycoon that he says this is the future. Monorails, unbelievable, but completely believable. Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.